Hello everybody, welcome back to Tempest Books. I'm Rebecca and today we are taking an awesome look at Apocalypse on Purpose. Okay, so this is the debut book by author Todd, The Posh Prepper. Now this book seriously taught me a lesson in assumptions because I read the back, I kind of, took in all that it was presenting and went, yeah, I totally know where this is going. I can even see the meme in my head already of an Illidan Stormrage face palming going, you were not prepared. And yes, I got taught quite the lesson about being an ass for assuming, because this book was not what I expected and it was excellent. Okay, so this book follows the preparedness expert Nick Ritter, and it takes place in the near future, 2035. Now, the world sucks. It has gone completely down the shit chute. The world is corrupt beyond what we ever see now, and everyone is most certainly in it for themselves. There is a very stark line between the ultra rich and everyone that is ground under their heel. There is a healthcare system in tatters. There is completely reamed to nothing international relations, and everyone knows the world is going to end at some point soon. They don't know how. It could be war, it could be the global crisis, it could be a lot of things. No one knows quite how, but the end is coming. And so they decide then that they will employ this posh prepper, Nick Ritter, and his plans for how to survive the end are nothing short of completely comprehensive. He has thought of things and has planned for things that I had never ever considered before for any kind of apocalypse. And he plans for every kind of apocalypse. And his plans go from the moment you step out your door when you've activated your emergency plan to 20 years time when the world is or not recovering, but you are thriving, because he's made sure that every point between here and there has 3 or 4 backups and has absolutely no way that could possibly fail you. Now, these plans don't come cheap. If you don't have anything less than about $15 million, don't talk to him. Now, Nick gets an insider tip about a really terrible virus that is basically gonna shut the world down, and it's gonna happen soon. So he's like, you know what? Excellent. I've been desperately wanting to retire to my survival villa in New Zealand, and that's where I'm going. But it turns out the one thing he actually wasn't prepared for was family. Along the way, he picks up the most ragtag set of people that go along with him. And, it is very much definitely a character-driven book. We actually don't see a lot of apocalypse. And normally character-driven isn't my cup of tea. I like the apocalypse. I like seeing what's going on. And it was very much following the characters. It was very much about the character development, not just the main character, but some of the side characters as well. There was some excellent plot in here regarding that. And most of what really caught me about this book was the fact that despite it being such a character-driven book, I loved it. For me, that's really saying something because, generally not hugely caring about the characters. But this book definitely made me really enjoy them. Now, the idea behind what was causing the apocalypse was excellent. It's not a new one, but it was done really, really well. And it was an awesome demonstration of, as like I said in the beginning, apocalypse on purpose. Now, I've got a bookcase full of apocalypse by whoops and apocalypse by stupidity, but there's not a huge amount of apocalypse on purpose. And the way that the book portrayed that done, the systematic nature of the way things were executed and the weaknesses that were hit and exploited, it was chilling in just how much I could see it happening in real life, like in today. Like if some of these techniques and some of this plan was applied today, I could definitely see it working. And that was astounding to read. It's like, oh no, I can actually see this going on. That's creepy. I have to keep reading. The undeniable logic that is used in this book to put forward exactly how things were done so well and so criminally excellently was brilliant to follow. It showed a lot of intelligence. It showed a lot of deep knowledge about how these systems are innately flawed and how those flaws can be taken advantage of. I also learnt a lot of new science things. I love learning new science things, especially in apocalypse books, and I definitely had that here. And going back to that intelligence and that deep knowledge and that logic, that was applied when it comes to our bad guys as well. When we're talking to the bad guy, I'm very much looking at him going, wait, you make sense. These things that you're talking about are logical. They work in my head. I shouldn't be agreeing with you. You're the bad guy. Oh boy, should this make me feel bad about myself? I need to think about this for a while, because some of the things he said were so right and so relatable and true. And it's like, I shouldn't be relating so positively to you in this. You're supposed to be the bad guy, man. It really made me think about an image that I had seen some years ago that was basically, you're a kid and youthful innocence and positivity is when you're rooting for the Avengers to win. And you're an adult and cynical and realistic when you look at it and go, no, Thanos had a point. There was some accurate stuff in his logic. That's what it was like in this. You really get to seeing the bad guy and you're going, you're not wrong. You're an asshole, but you're not wrong. So for a debut novel, as far as I'm concerned, this was astounding. It was a 4.75 book for me. It was so close to a 5-star. It really was. There were just a couple of times when we're following the main character and we're watching the fact that he's, making these decisions he wouldn't normally make, and he's coming along to, being with people, and that this group might start to become important to him. But all we're seeing is just kind of the blank face and how he then goes ahead with a decision that he's clearly made. So we at times see inside his head, we see his thought patterns, but then in those really important moments, we don't. We're only on the outside looking towards him. So it's all in third person. And there are times where, we're discussing his mentality. He's talking to the person or to the book, and, we see what's going on in his head. We see his thought pattern. But when we come to those moments when it's clearly a momentous decision and he's really considering how what he's going to do is going forward will either negatively or positively impact the group, but then are the moments we don't see in his head, and it's then the moments where I actually really wanted to. I feel like if we could have been able to see inside his head in those moments, we would have been able to really track that character progression in a way that we can in other parts of the book that are almost slightly less important, and it feels like we should have been able to see into his head in those moments as well. The other big thing that got me right between the eyes when it happened was one of our main group is a former SEAL. So he is former military, very special forces, and he spends time on the radio. And at one point, just one, he's talking to the person in the radio and he goes, over and out. I'm like, no, you were doing so well. Why did you do that? And because over and out are two very different endings to radio communication. Now, I know this because I've had radio training in a couple of different areas. One of them was while I was with the Volunteer Fire Brigade, and our trainers basically said, if I ever catch you using over and out, then I will string you up with our hoses, because you do not do that. Over is when you are completing your part of the radio communication and you're expecting an answer of some sort, or you know that the communication is going to continue. Out is when you are done. The conversation, the communication is finished. You do not expect an answer. And as far as you're concerned, you've moved away from the radio with no ill effect. Now, to double check to make sure I wasn't wrong with my training, I went out and I Googled it, and I was right for the majority of radio communication. It is over or out. It is not both. As much as you see it on TV and in the movies, it is not both. So that was just a small thing, just that it got me between the eyes, and I was like, no, you've got training. It was just one small thing, but I was like, no, you were doing so well. But it is an awesome book other than those 2 points. Like I said, it's so close to a 5 stars from me. This is the first book in the trilogy of this Posh Prepper. The next one comes out, I think, towards the end of this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. I will get my hands on it as soon as I can, and I'll do another review on it. But, you know, I would never have guessed that this was a debut novel. This was excellent, and I loved it. And I really hope that I see a lot more from this author in the future. All right, guys, that's it. Have you read this book? Are you willing to give it a chance? What do you think of everything here? And we're all done. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.